I think Democrats supporting families, supporting the working class, supporting unions, but I think we have to separate and have a message here. It's okay in America to be successful. We should celebrate that when people are successful. What my beef is, once you get successful, don't be a greedy bastard and not pay your taxes. Don't do that. Pay your tax and do that. And let those young men who see this, now I would argue this, we're creating a false narrative from them that everybody is super rich and has Lamborghinis and life is easy, but that's what we're gonna have to figure out in our society about social media and all of those things. But I don't think we should be the party that demonizes someone because they're able to afford something or they're able to work hard and got something. What we should demonize is people like Elon Musk and those people that do that, and that's different. That's different.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Well, welcome to the Capitol. It's great that you're all.
Boy. So once again, we got to talk about Tim Sugar Walz, aka Tampon Tim, aka the creepiest guy in America. Okay, the guy that really personifies the weirdos and low testosterone men in the Democrat Party. And we got to talk about Tim Walz because Tim Walz got booed and heckled as he took the stage during a veterans program at the Minnesota Capitol, right? So this guy is the governor of Minnesota. He is a veteran, and he got booed at the Capitol by veterans in his own state, right? Pretty embarrassing, right? Pretty humiliating stuff. And I want to react to it because Tim Walz just has not had a good time over the past few months, right? I think this guy really has shown how weak the Democrat Party is in regards to male leadership. When this dude is leading your party, right, he's getting booed by vets, even though he is a vet. Yeah, that's a problem, right? That's a big problem. So without further ado, let's get into this.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Well, welcome to the Capitol. It's great that you're all. Sir, you're welcome to come. Let me finish. Let me finish and vote.
Hey, sir, he doesn't have fucking votes, sir. Shut your fucking mouth.
Oh, hey, there's some passion in the building, which is a good thing. Look.
This dude is such a tryhard, bro. He's such a tryhard. It's so funny. Yeah, I can see why veterans would be upset with Tim Walz because Tim Walz lied, okay, about his rank when he retired. He lied about carrying weapons of war into war. This guy has been accused of stolen valor. And I've heard that is a very serious issue for veterans, right? When you lie about fighting in war, when you actually didn't fight in war, and you know, you lie about your whole life, yeah, that means that you have a credibility problem, okay? What else are you lying about? See, this is why Democrats, again, they don't understand, they don't have credibility, right? Tim Walz lied about everything, including how his kids were born, right? How he got his wife pregnant. He lied about how he got his wife pregnant, right? You lie about that. You lied about your DUI, right? You just lie about everything. It's like, okay, well, how can I believe you? When it comes to anything that comes out of your mouth, how can I believe you if I know that you lied about all these things, right? And this is why I found it to be so hilarious when Tim Walz started freaking out after Jake Tapper confronted him on Joe Biden. And
don't you think your party needs to acknowledge that President Biden was not up for the job of running for re-election and that this was a major mistake by the
He made that decision. He made that decision.
I know, but you all went along with the idea that he was up for it, and he wasn't. And everybody saw it, and the country rejected it.
Yeah, well, look, history will tell us to go back on that. That very well could be the case, Jake. What I'm concerned about is learning from those lessons. I would hope we would never do it again, make a mistake, make sure we go through and get someone. But I don't know where it helps us going forward. I certainly am deeply concerned that Donald Trump is going to lead us down a horrific. Look,
Yeah, I don't know where it helps us to acknowledge the truth about Joe Biden, which was something that was so obvious that everybody saw it, except apparently the Democrats and the mainstream liberal media. Okay. Yeah, it helps you when it comes to credibility, right? But again, these are the same people that told us, oh, it's not important to talk about Tim Walz and his stolen valor. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember CNN caping for this guy with the stolen valor stuff? It was one female anchor that was just so upset. She was so butthurt, so personally hurt by the fact that people were rightfully criticizing Tim Walz, right? Oh, let's not talk about things that damage our credibility, right? Let's not talk about those things. Let's not rectify those things. Again, if this is the mentality of the Democrats, then they're going to lose. I will never believe somebody like Tim Walz or any Democrat until they acknowledge obvious truths, right? Truths about reality, truths about biology. And even then, if they did acknowledge those truths, I still wouldn't believe them because they should never have lied in the first place, right? They should have never lied in the first place. So anyways, let's continue our coverage of what happened with Tim Walz getting booed by the veterans at the Capitol.
At the Capitol, Governor Tim Walz was heckled and booed by some veterans at a rally at the state Capitol Rotunda just this afternoon.
He also received a lot of support for what he's done to build veterans' homes and preserve veterans' funding. Chief political reporter Tom Hauser at the Capitol with the governor's reaction to all of this, Tom.
Well, Paul, there's no doubt that Governor Walz, the opinion of Governor Walz among veterans is split, as we learned from the heckling, booing, and applause today here in the Capitol Rotunda. Some are still angry about his military record that was amplified during his vice presidential campaign, but others say he's been a big supporter of veterans' issues here in Minnesota.
Welcome to the Capitol.
Hundreds of veterans from across the political spectrum rallied in the Capitol Rotunda. The governor heard from opponents.
You're welcome to come. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Walz allowed the hecklers to have their say, then went on to talk about how he plans to continue fighting for veterans.
There's some passion in the building, which is a good thing. We're going to have a debate, but I've made it clear. I will compromise with you on the budget. I will not compromise in the space of the veterans' issues. We are going to fund them to where they need to be.
The governor was able to mollify the crowd by reminding veterans of what his administration has done to fund veterans' homes and other services. One veteran we talked to wasn't surprised by the reaction.
A little bit of the boos are normal and stuff. You know, we have divided politics in Minnesota, but you know, he ran for vice president. What do you expect and stuff? And they still disagree.
Governor, the reaction to some of the boos that you got out there and some of the heckling.
Yeah, and some of the thank you, and this guy wanted to go brawl, help me brawl the guy. Look, that's what they're going to do. These folks come here, but they're going to have this reality. Some of these guys voted for what's happening at the VA, and they don't like it.
The governor told the veterans his support for them is unwavering, even if they disagree with him on other issues.
So if you want to fight social issues, if you want to fight issues on transportation or who the hell uses a bathroom, go fight them. But if you want to fight for veterans, come in here, get behind the right budget, and pass it.
Again, Democrats doing this thing where they're pretending like cultural issues don't matter. Again, this is part of the problem, right? Democrats have lost a cultural war. And instead of conceding defeat, they basically are saying, well, if you fight the culture war, then you're fighting the wrong issues, right? They're trying to delegitimize the culture war when they don't understand that the culture war matters more than a lot of other things because politics is downstream of culture, right? Culture is an overwhelming force in politics, right? I would actually argue that, again, when you look at the populism, particularly on the right, it is cultural populism, right? And that cultural populism is why President Trump has such a strong grip, okay, has such strong support within the Republican Party because he's a cultural populist, right? Democrats are also into cultural populism as well, too. It's just that their cultural populism isn't popular, right? That's the problem, right? It's not popular anymore, right? It's actually very toxic and it's turning people off. And Democrats falsely believe that if they just don't talk about it, if they just avoid talking about the issue, or they just dismiss the issue, right, that's going to help them. But at the same time, what they don't understand is that that's not going to help them because they ultimately have to be against the woke agenda. It's not enough to say, you know what, I'm neutral on the woke agenda. No, you have to actively be against it because Democrats are pushing it. And again, that's what Tim Walz doesn't understand. That's what he doesn't realize. But I'm sure that Tim Walz also knows that actively pushing back against the woke agenda would mean revolts from the far left, right? And Democrats are afraid of the far left, and I understand why. I mean, these people are violent individuals, okay? They are committing acts of domestic terrorism across the country. So I understand why Democrats are afraid to push back against the wokes, right? But they put themselves between a rock and a hard place as a party on cultural issues because, again, they got in bed with extremists, right? And when you get in bed with extremists, it is really hard to get out. Unscathed, that is. Okay, unscathed. So, yeah, that's the situation that the Democrat Party is in. And I think, again, they've made the calculation that, hey, we are just not going to talk about these issues, right? We're going to ignore it while at the same time, from a voting standpoint, we're going to support it. That's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it.
Now, the governor also reminded veterans that he is proposing more money for veterans than many of the state lawmakers are in their budget proposals. He says they should be fighting with them, not with him. And also today, the governor revealed that he will be traveling to Toronto next week to meet with the Canadian Premier and other officials about trade issues. We'll pass along more information on that as we learn it. Live at the state capitol, Tom Hauser, 5 Eyewitness News.
Basically trying to undermine President Trump, right? I mean, what good happens out of Tim Walz, who again is actively Trump deranged, going to Canada to talk about trade, right? Basically trying to undermine the president. This is what's happening. But my ultimate point here, when it comes to the Democrat Party, is that although they are stuck between a rock and a hard place, I do think there is a path forward for the Democrats if they ever want to have a chance of winning. And I think it has to be somebody that Tim Walz is trying to be, but he's really bad at it, right? It has to be a masculine man who unapologetically rejects the far left woke agenda, right? A masculine man, the first masculine man could be the savior of the Democrat Party, right? But it ain't Tim Walz, as people like Bill Maher have pointed out.
They're like an animal. They're instinctive. Like, I smell fear or I smell alpha, and they smell alpha. And Democrats have to come up with an alpha, and it's not Tim Walz.
No, probably not.
And it's not Tim, the other Tim who ran.
Kane?
Tim Kane. These are not alphas. It's like this thing of like, let's get a woman and then a docile man who's in every commercial where he's the asshole while mom takes care of business. You know, that's not a message that makes the tribe go, who is strong? Who's strong? Who's strong? Tim Walz. No. Org, give me rock. I need to kill myself because Tim Walz. You know, that you gotta appeal to people at a sort of post-civilization stage where we're kind of at on a primal level. You just do. And Trump does it better than anybody.
Trump does.
Yeah. So what you see there in that clip is people like Bill Maher, who I would put in the category of barely sane liberals, right? Okay. They're not completely insane, right? But like, you know, Bill Maher has some common sense, especially when it comes to the woke agenda. What he is admitting is that there's a part of the Democrat Party that wants a strong masculine force, right? They like, that's what they want, right? They want somebody that is going to stand up to the nonsense and not be completely sold out to the far left woke agenda, right? Somebody that is going to meet the Republicans in the middle, right? Sincerely meet Republicans in the middle, right? And not sell out the American people in the process. But they don't have that. Like they literally do not have that at all. I can't think of one Democrat that can currently fill those requirements. I just don't know if there's anyone at all, right? In fact, who knows? Stephen A., if he runs, he probably would be the best Democrat to do that, to be honest with you, right? This is why I said that I believe, like, even though I know a lot of people disagree, but I believe that there's a lane for Stephen A. And the reason why is because he's probably going to be the most masculine presence on stage at the Democrat debates, right? Considering the people that are probably going to run now. I mean, you talk about Gavin Newsom, Cory Booker, Pete Buttigieg. I think that Stephen A has more masculine energy than all those guys for the most part, right? And again, I think he is smart enough to reject some parts of the woke agenda, even though, again, we know that he's a race baiter. But outside of race stuff, when it comes to, the other issues, I mean, Stephen A had enough common sense to acknowledge the reality of biological boys competing against biological girls in sports, right? Which is something that a vast majority of Democrats, most of them, refuse to acknowledge, right? So Stephen A at least fulfills that requirement. And I'm not saying that, he has a good shot at winning or anything like that. I'm just saying if there's enough Democrats that feel like Bill Maher, right? If there's enough Democrats like that, if there are enough Democrat voters like that, then, who knows, right? Who knows what could happen? But I think that Tim Walz is dropping the ball because he's just not fulfilling that role, right? He's just not. He's trying so hard to do it. Like, the Democrats know they need to do it. They know they need to win back men, right? They know this, and they're trying really hard. They just don't have any men that can do it, right? And that's the funny part about it, right? Because that's how feminine the Democrat Party has become. It is now the party of women and low testosterone men, okay? And the women tend to be more high calorie, right? So again, that is what they have become as a party. And I think because of that, they just can't connect in an authentic way to men, okay, overall in general. And that's what's really hurting them, right? And I think rolling Tim Walz out here, like having him continue to do what he's doing, is not helping the Democrat Party. I think the whole creepy socialist grandpa thing is not attracting people at all. Okay, their approval rating is not getting better. It's getting worse. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.